Hi everybody, this is Katje. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This evening I'm dressed in kind of a witchy outfit because I'm going to tell a kind of a witchy story, as I will explain momentarily. But I wanted to start by showing you this current outfit. This is a sweater dress. Again, I've used it before, but I also purchased this at Forever 21, and I'm wearing it with my or actually knee boots, these knee leather boots. I have my Kate Spade black complimentary purse to go along with that. So this is a kind of a witchy new wave outfit. So there's the front, and here's the back. You can get a look at that. And let me just do a turn here down the catwalk. And a side pose. And that's that. So what I want to do tonight is tell you just a little bit about the story that I would like to read the first part of for you. For the past 5 years or so, I have been a volunteer at a local school where we go in and work with young people, children. It's actually an elementary school, where we work with young people who have maybe some problems with their reading, or maybe they don't. We just want to help them improve their reading. Certainly if they have problems, we want to help them overcome those problems. But if they're already really good readers, we want them to become even better readers. So last year I was working with a young student named Emilio. I believe he was a 5th grader, 4th or 5th grader. And he was a really, really good reader. So he was just really, didn't really have any problems. I think he was reading above grade level. So I was able to do some rather creative things with him in order to improve his reading even more and to expose him to some even more ideas. And one of the things that we did was that we wrote a story together. Actually, I wrote the story, but I sat down with Emilio and he gave me some ideas and characters, which we then worked up into this story. So what I'm going to do tonight is just read this for you. I think that you might find it interesting. He certainly did, and I certainly enjoyed working with him in writing this story and then reading it together. So let me go ahead and bring it up on my phone. And what I'm going to do is, as I said, tonight I'm going to read the first part of the story, and then maybe perhaps in my next video I'll do the second part. It's really not that long, but I wanted to break it up because it kind of lends itself to a 2-part presentation. So the name of this story is Mirrorland, and so I'm going to read this on my phone and let me just try to get the text so that it's a good size. So again, the name of the story is Mirrorland. So here's the story. The first part. Kyle and Ryan were twins who lived in a log cabin with their father by a big lake in Alaska. They had just finished the 5th grade, and it was summer. The sun stayed in the sky until well after midnight, turning the smooth surface of the lake deep gold. It was very quiet at night. Now and then an owl hooted in a treetop, or a wolf howled far off in the mountains. 2 years earlier, the twins' mother had died from a fever. Their father grew lonely. He met a woman in town and quickly fell in love with her. After they got married, she moved into the cabin. Unfortunately, the woman was mean. She made Kyle and Ryan move out of the cabin loft where they slept because she wanted to use it to store all her dresses, furs, and shoes. Instead, the twins had to sleep in the woodshed. Unbeknownst to them and their father, the woman was also a wicked witch who cast spells on people. In fact, she had put a curse on the twins' mother that caused her to die, and a hex on their father that made him fall in love with the witch and do whatever she wanted. That was why he agreed with her to banish his sons to the woodshed. But the witch had a secret. It was a small iron lockbox with a message hidden inside that could destroy her. The only key to the box was made of pure silver. The witch wore the silver key under her clothing on a string around her neck. Shortly after she came to live with the boys and their father, she sneaked outside one night with the key clasped in her hand. She threw the key into the lake, where it vanished into the water with a plop. The witch cackled to herself. Now no one would ever unlock the box. No one would ever find out how to get rid of her. She went back inside and stuffed the lockbox into the pocket of one of her long silk dresses hanging in the loft. Since she never wore the dress, eventually she forgot all about the box. Kyle and Ryan stayed all summer long in the woodshed while their father was away on a long hunting trip. Fortunately, it wouldn't get really cold until winter, so they actually had fun. Yet Kyle noticed an odd pattern. Several times when they were supposed to be sleeping, Ryan would get up and sneak outside in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, Kyle always fell back to sleep before he could force himself out of bed and follow his brother to find out where he went. When Kyle woke up in the morning, he looked over and saw his brother's snoring head on the pillow beside him. Strangely, Ryan's hair was always wet, as if he had just gone swimming, and the entire room smelled strangely of cedar smoke from a campfire. Whenever Kyle asked his brother about his wet hair or the smoky smell, Ryan simply stared at him with his green eyes, smiled, and shook his head. Kyle also knew something that he never told Ryan. Once, when their stepmother was out gathering berries, Kyle sneaked into the loft to snoop through her things. He touched the soft furs and the row of shiny leather boots, ran his hands over the smooth silk of her many dresses. In the pocket of one dress, he discovered the iron lockbox the witch had left there and forgotten. Since he couldn't find the key, he stole the box and hid it under a rusty bucket in the woodshed until he could figure out how to open the box. But like the witch herself, eventually Kyle forgot all about it. Autumn came and went. Soon it was winter. Icy wind blew through the cracks between the wallboards into the woodshed. No matter how many blankets they piled on top of themselves, the twins' teeth chattered. Kyle and Ryan were also worried about their father, who still had not returned from his long hunting trip. Their stepmother told them he would be back in time for Christmas, but they didn't believe her. Then, late one night, Kyle awoke with a start. In the dark, he heard the door creak open and softly shut, followed by the dull trudging of footsteps moving away from the woodshed. Ryan was going outside again. This time, Kyle didn't hesitate. Because the room was so cold, he was already fully dressed. He threw off his blankets and jumped to his feet. As he quickly pulled on his winter coat, woolen mittens, and snowshoes, he remembered the small lockbox he'd stolen from his stepmother. He knew Ryan always carried a Swiss Army knife with him wherever he went. Thinking that maybe together they could figure out how to pick the lock with the knife, Kyle turned on his flashlight and fetched the box from under the rusty bucket. He put the box in his pocket and switched off the flashlight before slipping out the door. A huge full moon was shining brightly, making the snow on the ground glow an eerie bluish white. Kyle could easily follow his brother's footsteps without having to use the flashlight. The footsteps led down to the edge of the lake. When he got there, Ryan was already out on the lake's frozen surface. All at once, he started jumping up and down on the ice like a pogo stick. There was a loud crack, and Ryan tumbled into the freezing water below. Kyle gasped. On hands and knees, he crawled to the lake, or to the hole where his brother had disappeared, and stared down into the frigid depths. To his surprise, a seal was staring back up at him. It had green eyes, exactly like Ryan's. The seal swam in a circle a few times before diving back under the ice and gliding under it toward the lake's far bank, where Kyle spotted the yellow flames of a campfire. In the air, he could smell cedar smoke from the fire. Instinctively, he knew he was supposed to meet his seal brother there. Instead of crawling the rest of the way across the ice, Kyle decided it would be safer to go back and walk on the path around the lake until he came to where the fire was. So that's what he did. He had walked for about 50 yards when a giant Kodiak bear came out from behind a bush and stood right in front of him. Before Kyle could run away, the bear started talking. It said it would eat Kyle unless he solved a riddle. The riddle was this: although I wear no shoes and run over many miles of mud, sand, and slime, my many feet never get dirty. What am I? Kyle thought and thought, but he couldn't come up with the answer. Just as the Kodiak bear was about to pounce on him, he recalled his father once telling him he had to swim across a river that was more than 100 feet deep. A deep river, Kyle cried out. It has many feet. Its many feet have no shoes, run over miles of mud, sand, and slime, but never get dirty. The Kodiak bear nodded and went back behind the bush. Kyle continued walking on the path to the other side of the lake. So that's the first part of the story, and Emilio and I really had a good time coming up with the story, where I took the information home and then wrote it up for him, and then we made some corrections together, and then so next time, what I would like to do, with your permission and with your patience, is read the rest of the story. And I really encourage anybody who has an interest in volunteering with children to help them improve their reading or any other skills where they need improvement. That's something that I have found really worthwhile doing. I'm not going to do it for a while now because I've gotten kind of burned out. I'm just a little tired, and I have some other projects and things that I am currently working on that require a lot of my time. I'm working on a new book. I'm waiting for the proofs for another book that I have written on Heidegger and theology. So I have a lot on my plate right now, and I may be contemplating in the not-too-distant future a move to another part of the country that's not clear. My spouse and I have to make that decision together. But in any event, that's the story. Again, the name of the story is Mirrorland. That was part 1. And I hope to read the rest of the story for you next time. And so until then, this is Katje Eckhart. Thank you all for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Until then, I wish everybody, as always, a safe, a restful, and a peaceful good night. Thanks again for joining me. Bye-bye.